My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Elvis. Now, if you know me, you know that I'm not a fan of music biopics. Just because I feel like every single one follows the exact same formula, and it's just been done to death by this point. So when I heard they were making an Elvis Presley movie, I had zero interest in it. But then I heard that Baz Luhrmann was going to direct it, the guy who made one of my favorite movies in Moulin Rouge, and he also made The Great Gatsby, which I find to be a great movie. So that piqued my curiosity, and then the first trailer came out, and it didn't look like a Baz Luhrmann movie as much as I would have liked it to, so I did get a bit worried, but after seeing this movie, I can put all those worries to rest and say that Baz Luhrmann indeed delivers. This might actually be my favorite music biopic movie ever made. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen Walk the Line in quite a long time. I hated Bohemian Rhapsody. I didn't like Rocket Man as much as everyone else did. And yeah, I think out of the movies I've seen that are music biopics, this one is the best one. And it's all because of Baz Luhrmann. He delivers on bringing his signature style to this movie. From the very first minute, you're just like, oh yeah, this guy's going to deliver. He just finds a way to make every scene all the better. Whether it's the beginning of the scene or the ending or just everything in between, he just finds a way to make it interesting. And for a movie that's as long as this one is, he brings a necessary energy to it. There's all these wild camera movements that really worked for me. I loved how the camera's almost always moving, it's quickly edited, and he does lots of very unique, ambitious stuff, especially with this kind of movie. You don't usually see this amount of style in a music biopic, and I'm very thankful that this one does. But he's not the only star of this movie. Austin Butler plays Elvis Presley, and the only other movie I've seen this guy in is Aliens in the Attic, which was a movie I saw a very long time ago. And I don't say this often, but this is a star-making performance. He's already been cast in Dune Part 2, and I'm sure he's going to be cast in a lot of different movies soon because he's just phenomenal here. The way that he encapsulates this person is just so perfect. The way he talks, the way he moves, he just captures it all. And he just carries this movie incredibly well. And he looks the part as well. This movie brings in archive footage in moments, and there are some times where I'm like, is this archive footage or is this Austin Butler? Because at times I couldn't tell the difference between the two. This guy is really that good in this movie. So between him and Baz Luhrmann, that is where the standout aspects of this movie are. And he sung all the songs in this movie, which is incredibly impressive. And man, I just love Elvis Presley's songs all these years later, and they still hold up incredibly well. And I thought the makeup team did a really good job of showing aging on Elvis. Like when he's meant to look 20, he looks 20. When he's meant to look 40, he looks 40. So they did a great job too, and I really like the costumes they gave him. It seems accurate based on what I've seen, and they brought lots of life to this movie. Tom Hanks is in this movie, and I'm seeing lots of hate for his performance. It's definitely a slightly more goofier performance of his. It's definitely more out there. But I think he does do a good job with it. He finds a way to make this character stand out. Whether it's in a goofy way or not is entirely up to you, but it worked for me and it worked for this style of movie. I also thought Olivia DeJonge was perfectly fine in the time she was in this movie. I wish she had a bit more to do. And even though he's not in this movie a bunch either, I thought Calvin Harrison Jr. was really good as well. So the cast does a good job. And I do think this movie is a very loving tribute to Elvis. They don't showcase him as this perfect angel. They definitely highlight some flaws of his. But they also show what he meant to so many people. And I just feel like they nailed all of that. You know, for a musical biopic that does follow lots of the same beats that we've seen done before, there was something about their approach to this character that just really worked for me. And I think lots of that is due to what Austin Butler brings to it. It really felt like I was watching Elvis Presley in moments. And I love the fact that they use so many of his songs in this movie. I hate when you're watching a music biopic and you're just waiting for them to sing a specific song and that moment just never comes. And that doesn't happen here. Like, sure, I would have liked You're the Devil in Disguise, but most of my other favorite Elvis Presley songs were sung. And they showcased so much of his life. They got so much into this movie. And it really worked for me. And I just felt like they had a good understanding of who he was, and especially in a different time in history. I just think they handled all that incredibly well. And they also show how he was taken advantage of. Like, I don't know how much of this story is true, but I do think that it works really well as a movie. I do want to say that this theater that I was in tonight had lots of elderly people in it. And it was like the old person's Avengers, because when I saw Doctor Strange 2, some people are like, oh, that's John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. And when I saw this movie tonight, they're like, oh, that's Little Richard. So, I know, it's the old person's Avengers. But I do have a couple issues with this movie, is that even though Baz Luhrmann brings lots of energy to it, I do feel like they could have cut 10 to 15 minutes of it. And I wish they gave his wife a bit more to do, and I also wish they gave his father a bit more to do. So much happens around those two characters, and I wish they had a bit more depth to them. But I also understand there's only so much you can do in this one time. I just think they could have done it. But yes, this is a really good music biopic, and that's not something you'd hear me say all too often. I think it's a loving tribute to Elvis Presley, and I think what really elevates this movie above every other music biopic is Baz Luhrmann and the style he brings to this movie, which just really allows it to pop. And Austin Butler's performance, I think he encapsulates this person so incredibly well, and he's about to get a huge career ahead of him, I'm sure of it. I really enjoyed this movie. I think it works in every way it was trying to, and my rating could go down, maybe down a little bit, but I'm pretty confident in saying that Elvis is a 7.5 out of 10. One last thing I do want to say is that if I was in charge and I could get any music biopic made, the band I would choose is Fleetwood Mac. But I would specifically locate it around the time that they were making the album Rumors and tell that story. If you know the story behind it, I think it could make for a really great movie, and I would love to see that happen one day. But if you could get a music biopic made about anyone, who would you choose? And have you seen Elvis? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.